I can read minds.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can.
This isn't really happening.
It is really happening.
Think of a number. Number 7.
7.
Purple.
Purple.
My worst nightmare.
Hippopotamus riding a bicycle.
What's your name?
Wednesday. What's yours?
I don't want to tell you.
Hello, Peggy. Hi everybody and welcome back to the Willie St. Willie channel once again. And today we're here to talk about a cartoon series that I'm surprised has gotten as big as it has, because I saw it once upon a time here on old YouTube when this pilot dropped. And of course I'm talking about Hazbin Hotel. Okay, you theater kids, alright, sit back down. I know you love the show, but just keep it together, alright? Now quick context for anyone you might not know. Hazbin Hotel is a popular adult animated series set in hell created by Vivian Medrano. It follows the characters of Charlie Morningstar, the Princess of Hell, as she tries to rehabilitate sinners so they can ascend to heaven. It's colorful, it's campy, it's crude, musical theater energy, very fun, you know, like all of the drama kids love the show, as you can probably imagine. But here's the tension I've always felt with this show. You see, I've always thought it could be a little bit creepier. I mean, when you think about it, even the characters themselves, like Charlie, who's the daughter of Lucifer and Lilith, the first, corrupted human and the first fallen angel, and even Alistair, a fan favorite character, has bested lords of hell. These characters should be really uncomfortable to share a room with, very scary stuff. And that is exactly the kind of eeriness that Alkiri4 on TikTok has tapped into with this Hazbin Hotel biblically accurate horror AU we're going to be talking about. Now I'm going to do my best to try to piece together the overarching story I believe Akiri's trying to tell. Some of the posts are frankly kind of just shit posts, so I don't know how much literary weight they're gonna have, but some of them are pretty obvious story entries that she takes from scenes of the show in Hazbin Hotel, and some of which she just basically creates herself with characters from the show. So I figured the best way to go over the story would be to just go by the new character designs and their variations, as that could make for a pretty easy breakdown and give you the idea of the universe, the biblically accurate versions that Alkiri has created. Comment below and tell me what your favorite Hazbin Hotel character is. I remember when I first saw the pilot, I thought Angel Dust was cool because she was all crude and funny and talked about sucking cock, and I thought that was pretty funny when I first saw it, so she's my favorite. Or he. Is it he? I don't remember. It's been a while since I watched it. Guys, I apologize if I mess up some details of the Hazbin Hotel lore. I have not seen all of the show. I kind of fell off from it, admittingly. But yeah, I did see a good bit of it, so I know the premise and a lot of the characters and all that, but I'm going to do my best here. So without further ado, let's get into it. First up on our chopping block is Charlie Morningstar, as she is the heart of this AU after all. The first glimpse we see of her is the scene that's recreated from the show where Vaggie refuses to kill a child during an extermination and gets exiled and loses her wings along with one of her eyes and is found by Charlie. Now in the show, the moment is kind of sweet, it's kind of tender, something you really like, but well, in this it's a little bit more of a darker undertone. See, the vibe I took away from this is that Charlie is a lot more of an imposing figure. She tells Vaggie that God has forsaken her, but not to worry, everyone is welcome in hell. And the way it lands, it's not very comforting. It's almost like a very statement of ownership or a antichrist-like way of temptation. To me, it almost reads as if Charlie is imposing herself as this Christ-like savior figure, and that Vaggie should follow her instead of God, and that's just kind of the vibe I get from it. Now, many commenters have pointed out that Charlie's design is almost that of like a satyr, which is a human-goat hybrid, which is kind of one of the oldest interpretations of what a demon actually looks like, with the horns. But my kind of vibe was she looks more like a Strigoi, almost vampiric-like. Basically, she reminds me of the Master in the Strain series mostly because of the missing nose and just the weird, eerie eyes and the way the face is set up. But either way, very cool. I love Charlie's design, and I feel like this is what a Princess of Hell would look like this evil, tempting, twisted feminine figure that has a mask face and a real face underneath it. I thought that was really cool because there's the mask element of the presentation of what Charlie wants to give off, but then there's the more disturbing figure underneath it where her skin almost looks torched, and there's this otherwise macabre kind of smile that's still somewhat alluring, but also creepy. And it also leaves a little bit to the imagination of what else she might evolve to look like, where she has this like fully, I guess, like enraged look where her face opens up and her eyes glow and her mouth opens. And that is like, I guess, almost like a banshee kind of design. That's kind of the vibe I was getting from that. A demonic banshee. However, yes, I do think the more middle ground disturbing design is just more effective because it doesn't reveal everything. And another element of this that makes it cool is the scene where Charlie first meets Alistair. The roles are kind of flipped because it's almost as if Alistair should be the one who's nervous about meeting Charlie versus the other way around, like it was in the show where Charlie was, kind of scared of him. Because now it seems as if this is genuinely what a princess, a figure of hell could be like. And she's not one to mess around with, so I kind of like the grotesque depiction of that. I like the vibe so far. Okay, Daddy likes. I'm a little giddy now. I do like this. It makes Charlie more of this tempting hell figure that it still has this horror side. Like when she appears to a man named David who has just committed a murder as some sort of sacrifice to Charlie herself, and then Charlie appears and tells him that he's done something really bad, but not to worry because she will help him. And it's probably not in a way that he expects because he's probably going to get taken to the hotel hell, most likely. Like when I see this, I'm like, yeah, this is a lady who would run a hotel in hell to redeem people. This is a lady who would do that. Another thing I want to know is I mentioned Vaggie and Charlie's relationship is that there's another scene in this AU that basically has this underlining tone of kind of sweetness because Charlie is anxious about her appearance without her mask, and Vaggie's like comforting her and telling her she doesn't see a monster. And hold on to that thought because Akiri does a lot more with this kind of premise a little bit. All right, next up we have Alistair's redesign, who I mentioned previously. So obviously in the show he's stylish and this Art Deco, Great Gatsby, old spot kind of design. It has a very charming on the surface but disturbing underneath. Now in this version it leans hard into deer imagery that the original series already uses but never really fully committed to. He has an elongated neck, horns, and limbs all stretched out in a way that is very, very uncanny valley. He has the glowing eyes that are just completely empty, and also appears to have runes or symbols around him that almost play into a pagan or demonic vibe with his presence. And obviously he still bears the mark on his head where he was shot, being mistaken for a deer like it was in the show. But now it almost plays into like a deeper meaning because his appearance is more deer and Servine-like in a way. Even though Alistair is more disturbing in this version than I think the actual show, it's just funny seeing him be the nervous one around Charlie versus the other way around. I think it's kind of funny. But next we have Rosie, and her redesign is pretty interesting because obviously in the show she is this very elegant, very refined theatrical leader of Cannibal Town, and she has this, they're cannibals, so she has this surface level aura of femininity and physique, but then in this redesign she almost has this soulless like stare and look. And I think the stare just conveys a lot because it doesn't really need to show the cannibal aspect. It kind of just, we already know from the lore of the show, it kind of just implies it, which I think still works pretty effectively for this design of the character. However, for Nifty's redesign, she still keeps that sort of housewife aesthetic, but she looks more withered and older, and basically it dials up the elements of her that worked in the show into basically up to 11, and she still retains that vintage quality while just looking a little more unsettling, which I think just fits this AU version of her. All right, now let's move on to some of the other hotel residents and crew. First up we have Sir Pinchus, which his design doesn't really like change that much. It mostly stays the same. It's just that his figure is more humanoid, but he keeps like a snake tail, and his goggles move from like over his hat to actually like, over his eyes. But for the most part, his design mostly stays the same, which kind of makes sense because he was like a snake kind of guy. So I guess there's not really too much accuracy you can really change with this character, I guess. The same could pretty much be said for Angel Dust, which is, a fan favorite character for everyone. It's just that Angel Dust just looks more spider-like than, they do in the show, with their fangs more prominent, their eyes are more uncanny looking, almost like an actual spider, which, again, it fits the vibe of this more creepy, horror-accurate, biblically accurate AU. So, again, Chef's Kiss, really like that a lot. Husk, though, actually kind of looks better in this AU than they do in the show. They have more masculine, like, attractive face, I think, that's just my opinion of it, Now, Lucifer, oh, Lucy, might be my favorite redesign. in this AU, because it goes full on somewhat biblically, accurate of what you might imagine. Basically, Lucifer is this being of immense beauty, painful pride, and worthy of basically being the prodigal son of God, basically, in this sort of redesign. So he's shown as naturally handsome. He's the light bringer, after all. And it shows this deep, aching sorrow that's very visible on him with these tracks on his face. And he was obviously banished for trying to rebel and seize the celestial throne. And obviously it was a rebellion that went catastrophically wrong, obviously. And that grief has not... It's not softened. It's not turned into any sort of resignation, okay? So there's a scene between Charlie and Lucifer where Lucifer is consoling Charlie, and then it kind of sharpens into this hate-filled gaze and determination where he tells his daughter, "Heaven never listens, but that is about to change." And it basically means that he's actively helping Charlie while simultaneously plotting revenge against his former family. And the hotel project isn't just about redemption. There's a bigger picture going on. There's something building in the background, basically. And the fact that the most powerful being in hell has a personal vendetta against heaven hanging over the entire story makes every other scene feel charged with a sort of unspoken tension that the show just doesn't really have, in my opinion. Like, it doesn't really resonate the same. And there's a reason everyone calls it the biblically accurate horror AU, because I feel like Akiri pulls more elements from Bible lore and just throws it into her art. Like, for example, there's an animated story of Eve basically having a nightmare, and it pulls from some common TikTok audios like the "Mom, where were you?" like that creepy audio, but it uses it for the story of Cain and Abel. Now, Eve's sons, the first murders in Christian tradition, Cain killing Abel, all that jazz, the story goes. Cain kills Abel out of jealousy and then is forced to bear the mark of Cain and this guilt. It's the tragedy of the first human death and a mother who had to endure it and live with it with the death of her son. Abel appears to Eve in this nightmare sequence with a bloodied head and asks her, "Where were you? You're supposed to protect me. Why didn't you save me?" Using the TikTok audio. But obviously it brings on a biblical meaning, which is kind of epic. I really like that a lot. It shivers my timbers really good. And to me, I think this kind of implies that the sinners and the demons are not the only ones who have to carry all this trauma and guilt. So does heaven. Heaven has this unspoken violence and grief that it has to come to terms with, but it just isn't. And I feel like that kind of adds more layers to the overall AU, which brings me to the perfect segue to discuss the angels and heaven in this horror AU, because be honest, I feel like they're kind of creepier than the demons are, just because at least the demons are somewhat honest with what they are and how they project themselves, but heaven and the angels just are not. They still try to hide behind this veil of grace and serenity that they obviously just don't have, because they're just creepy monsters, basically. So obviously, in biblical lore, angels are designed to be terrifying to demons. They're supposed to be very physically imposing looking, so they're not going to be very seductive and beautiful and alluring like you would imagine in many medieval artistic depictions. And this AU kind of just mostly goes full send on that, where they're supposed to have this imposing presence. For the design for Sarah, right? So there's a scene where Luke confronts her for not retaliating against the demons who killed Adam, and Sarah barely reacts, and she just says one word, says, "Enough!" And Luke averts her gaze and can't look directly at her, and Sarah reveals her true form, which is a golden owl with completely white eyes, and they're all beautiful and angelic and imposing. And obviously the owl holds symbolic weight as well, for wisdom, predators in the night. It works on a few different levels. I just like the design. I thought it looked cool, but there's some substance to it. Oh, and we also see Emily, who I believe is like a seraphim in the show, and she's this beautiful angelic presence, and her reveal is knowable because, I believe it actually makes Charlie nervous, which, this version of Charlie making her nervous is a little bit harder to do than in the actual show, but I just wanted to note Emily's design because I thought it was very ethereal and bodacious. And then I get to Adam, who is definitely supposed to be the creepiest heaven angelic design of the AU. He almost reminds you of a priest wearing a helmet, and his smile is very overly confident and self-assured, and also very cruel, like very, very berserk church-like with its cruel implications. So Adam is built to be the perfect leader for the army, whose entire purpose is to bring death and fear to hell, and his method of maintaining that army is exactly what we saw in The Exorcist Carmela was facing. Not very nice. He strips his soldiers of their identity and autonomy, and the completely dark masks with empty stares aren't a uniform. They're basically just what's left after Adam is done breaking down and indoctrinating you, basically. And there's a big detail that kind of recontextualizes Lute's character in the AU. It's seen through what I can believe to be flashbacks that are basically almost like intrusive memories. In one of them, Adam appears with a massive wound on his chest, where he's dead at this point in the timeline, and he's basically the root of the hatred Luke carries for demons and hell, because her entire identity was built around this lone figure. Now that he's gone, all that grief and rage has nowhere to go except towards Charlie specifically, and just demons and hell in general. And I think that's why the angels in heaven in this AU are creepier to me than the demons, because their evilness is characterized as very strict and orderly, and they've convinced themselves that everything they do is just for the sake of the greater good and is righteous, while the demons kind of are just dirtbags, like just on their own. There's no real reason or order behind the chaos behind it. But for the angels, there is a purpose, and they're doing this for what they have convinced themselves are good reasons, basically. All right, now to circle back to the Charlie and Vaggie relationship I mentioned previously, because that's kind of the heart of the AU. It's the sweetest, I guess, most popular element of it. But so basically it's been developed across multiple videos, and everyone seems to really like it, but there are mostly two videos in particular I wanted to address that she posted. It uses audio from Disney's The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and it uses the song Heaven's Light, and it frames moments in their relationship that show them strengthening their bond and making feelings very clear. And the second digs into Charlie's internal conflict and anxiety, basically. The internal conflict centers around Charlie's mask and whether or not she should show her true self or continue to hide it. Should she keep hiding behind the more composed, frightening version of herself, or should she drop it and be more vulnerable, more true to herself? And the video also shows the rest of the hotel and the little family that she's managed to build in Hell Hotel. She looks at them with genuine love and care, and there's a flashback of Vaggie kissing Charlie. And as she's thinking about it, Charlie's like, oh, damn, girl. And she's like blushing. She's like, oh, God, girl, damn. And obviously, this is really sweet, and it shows an inner kindness within Charlie that, I mean, it's just like the original show, so that element definitely stays intact with this AU in the original. And also, I feel like it's supposed to be really cheeky with their use of Heaven's Light, showing this demonic princess who can command fear from anyone, who is showing a sense of vulnerability and weakness that basically can be associated with, oh, she's choosing to be loved and love in return, rather than just shielding herself and being steadfast and cruel that a demon princess should be. And it's, you know, makes her more relatable and you can root for her. Like there's a hint of light underneath all that darkness, and I think that is the meaning that she was going for. I don't know, this isn't an English class, this is just my best interpretation of it, I don't know. And obviously Alkiri is still working on and actively posting about this horror AU, and honestly, I just absolutely love it. It's very clear that she's a fan of Hazbin Hotel and a big fan of the source material. Just the raw passion behind a project like this is just so, it's always refreshing to see, because so many people just be making stuff like this just to, I don't know, just for popularity or click's sake. And whenever you find a series that is so genuine like this, you just can't help but love it. Even if it's not the greatest thing in the world, you just can't help but love it. I'm trying to piece together the thematic storytelling that she's trying to create with this series, but I mostly just want to go over the character designs and talk about this horror AU in general. Also, Akiri, I noticed, is from Ukraine. She's Ukrainian. I don't know if she still lives there or not, but obviously it is a rough time to live in Ukraine right now. You know, it has been the past few years, but you know what I mean. It's just crazy for me to think about that in the middle of this country is being invaded and occupied right now. There's a lone 20-something-year-old girl on her computer at her art station just making a Hazbin Hotel AU for just the love of the game and posting it on TikTok. That is just brings a tear to my eye. Brings a tear to my eye, you know? There you have it, everybody. That is biblically accurate Hazbin Hotel horror AU. Like I said, there wasn't like too much of a thematic analysis. I tried my best with it. I mostly just wanted a reason to talk about it. And please, please, please go and support the original creator. I'll leave a link in the description below. And for those of you who made it to the end, you know, your support always means the world to me and to everyone who bothers to watch all these videos, because you guys are the reasons I can even keep making more of these videos. So by you supporting me, you are by proxy supporting the other fans as well, when you think about it. So, thank you guys as always for watching. Fuck me, dude. You don't hear it this whole time, and now you're at the end. Crazy. Thank you guys as always for watching. And just in case I don't see you again, stay safe and have a good one. Goodbye. And by the way, there's a train. I live next to a railroad track. Okay, well, I was gonna show off my Rippet because they sell these at Dollar Tree. They kind of suck, but you know, I was desperate. It's all I had. So, click on another video, please. Bye.